All right, welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling Channel. My name is Scott, and we've just got done with our watch along experience for SmackDown in Lyon. Thank you to everyone that joined us, and thank you for those that stayed tuned for the instant reaction review. Now, pleased to say it was a very, very exciting show. One that I did enjoy, and it ended with a big, big moment, of course, in a new champion being crowned. Of course, Sami Zayn is your new United States champion. The title changing hands away from American soil in France, and a very, very fun match at that. I'm a bit surprised by it, I've got to be honest, but what a great way to give those fans in Lyon a little treat for kind of how well they cheered all night, and just like they did last year as well. Look, very, very excited to be back here for the stream, but it's not just me. I'm also with Mr. Andy Spoors. Andy, how are you doing? What are your thoughts coming out of SmackDown in Lyon?
Yeah, it was as expected, a very rowdy crowd over in France, as we saw when they were there last time as well. And it feels with that ending, maybe they got a little bit of recognition by having a title change hands in Lyon as well. So, really cool moment for the French fans to get that, especially on a SmackDown. And yeah, I'm interested to have a bit of a chat about Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa and where that kind of leaves both guys as well.
Yeah, me too. I mean, again, I was surprised that's what they went with. I'm not against it because it was a moment. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it on air. I enjoyed the moment just watching it itself. And it was, I guess, something, as you say, well deserved for the fans, a little bit of a reward for them as well. So we'll break down the show kind of match by match, segment by segment as we make our way through. Just get to a few comments here as well. Aiden said just as we were wrapping up the watch along that he was shocked that there was no interaction at the end with Jimmy and Jacob celebrating, which I agree, and I assume you do as well, Andy, from the nods there. We'll touch on that match in more detail later on and all the kind of shenanigans around it. Will Radisford says we've got an ROH pay-per-view tonight with Athena versus Mina. And also, Christopher Leclerc says Sami Zayn just needs to win the world championship and become a Grand Slam champion. That kind of leads into my kind of thoughts on this a little bit as well. A little spoiler there because we don't want to dive into too much. We'll do it a bit in chronological order where we can. But yeah, that's my biggest kind of about this, is that I just want Sami winning the big one. I'm sick of these mid-card titles for Sami because he's been there and he's done that. But the show started out with a pretty big opener. Something that we saw also on last week's show in Dublin, of course, was Logan Paul and John Cena going face to face in what was once again a pretty entertaining promo segment to open the show as well. Again, it was promised that Cena would be on the show. He was coming out essentially to address what happened at the end of last week's event, of course, where he was punched in a cheap way, essentially, by Logan Paul. But we did see Cena opening the show, but before he could get there, Logan Paul went out there to take care of business himself. So what were your thoughts on the opener? Did you enjoy what we saw from John Cena and Logan Paul in this one, Andy?
Yeah, I think it was exactly what was needed the night before their showdown, or 2 nights, I guess. I keep thinking it's Saturday. I don't know why we've
I
been
know it's so confusing
conditioned.
being a Sunday PLE again, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was exactly what they needed between the two of them, is just to have another face to face. I think a lot of this was John Cena probably wanted to enjoy that crowd and just see, like sort of soak up the atmosphere and also let the crowd see John Cena, because again, you're going to get those moments where it's nights like tonight when they do a package at the end of his year run where they'll be able to use stuff like this because of like how big that reception was.
Yeah.
And it was just, we've seen it. It's a redo of like every other one that he's done where he destroys someone verbally in the ring, and he gets that chance to say, this is sink or swim time, kid. It's time to grow a set and step up, and it's their chance to do so. So to me, that was Logan Paul's chance to kind of step up, and it was good to let him have his time first, because a lot of people do struggle when they go against John Cena toe to toe on the mic. So yeah, I think it was sort of well done all round. Is exactly what I expected. Logan Paul draws heat wherever he goes, and John Cena at the moment gets cheers everywhere he goes. So
Mm.
perfectly done. I can't really add much more to that, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's a good point you make there. Putting Logan in first gave him the opportunity to kind of, be the sole focus rather than the thunder being stolen. You could argue, well, Cena comes out and therefore takes it away from him anyway. But the kind of back and forth, we didn't get too much back and forth. It was more Logan's turn, and then mainly Cena talking in the second half of it. Logan had a few kind of bite backs here and there, which probably kind of helped him rather than, as you say, kind of a situation where sink or swim and he's kind of drowning against one of the the better superstars on the mic. And I said it when we was on the watch along. I've got to admit, Logan Paul is very entertaining on the mic still. So and he's getting better and better. It's a frightening thing. We've been saying it since day one, but it'd be interesting to go back and watch his early matches and his early promos. And
he sounds more natural. I think he's found
yeah,
like a cadence where it fits him, where he's not necessarily reading from a script. Like I think he knows what his points are, and you can kind of tell there's a little bit being fed to him beforehand.
100%. Yeah,
Whereas at the beginning, if I remember rightly, a lot of them felt a bit sort of stinted because he didn't quite know how to react to certain points, let the crowd do their thing and
yeah,
respond to it. Whereas now he knows to kind of utilize that as part of the promo, which I think is fantastic and shows his progression. So this is probably one of the stronger ones he's had. There's still a bit where you kind of like you don't need to chirp in quite as much,
yeah.
but he's annoying, so he kind of gets away with it.
100%. I think the character, as you say, kind of plays into that. So he does get away with it. But those are the only kind of things where, if you found any kind of criticism with his promo style, there are sometimes where he could let it breathe a little bit longer or not say the obvious thing. But generally speaking, again, it fits his character and very, very entertaining. Talking of entertaining, we've also got Lucas in the house. Going to bring him on the stream now as well to let us know his thoughts on that opening segment. Again, he joined us earlier on the watch along for a little bit and was commenting away in the background. But now that he's back and had his pizza, let's see what he actually thought of the opening segment to SmackDown. Lucas.
Hello, guys. Hello, Andy. You right?
How's it going?
Yeah. Open segment. To be fair, I thought the whole episode was actually really good tonight. Actually, I think a lot of good. Hello, Andy. Hello, Aiden. Sorry. So I'm reading hello, Andy. We're looking at Andy. I thought the segment was done well. Like, I think it's very hard for someone to play off against Cena. I think that, especially in this. We're getting close, guys. It's less than 10 dates now left.
Yeah, scary.
I think. Something I did message earlier. I did say I do wonder why they do these long promo segments in countries where English is not the first language. Obviously, I know they're doing it because obviously for domestic viewers, but it did leave a few kind of awkwardnesses because there was some kind of real nice lines and some real kind of nice insults that kind of went over the French's crowd, and it left for some of the stuff being kind of delayed response because obviously they're struggling. They're not struggling. They're trying to get the translation right before they're reacting. But I thought it was a really, really, really nice touch. Cena obviously apologising to the kid he upset.
Oh man, that was so cool.
I'd love to know if that was planned. Surely, I don't know, with the kid gut, I don't know. Broston and front are very close.
Yeah. But the kid didn't seem to be in on it.
He was on social media. I think WWE shared that the kid was in the crowd in the queue to go in.
Right,
so they obviously knew he was there. And I'll presume they've fed him into a position and told John Cena he'll be around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon there's a bit of both. I reckon perhaps either he got that seat as it was, or they knew he was coming, saw him in a queue and said, you know what, do you want to upgrade? And essentially sat him in those seats where Cena came. But I thought it was a really nice touch. It's Cena, this is another genius of John Cena though. Obviously, as we all know, come pretty much to the conclusion of Clash in Paris, the only thing on the mind of anyone when it comes to John Cena will be John Cena against Brock Lesnar, most likely at WrestlePalooza, maybe stretching it to Perth or Survivor Series, but that's what is next. And so we know that come the conclusion of a Logan Paul match, win, lose, draw, whatever, this will be it for the Logan Paul and John Cena feud.
Yeah.
So I think they've done a good job of making it seem like it's not just that stopgap. And I think if the match delivers, which I think it will, it's got that kind of, and it may even be a nice turning point for Logan Paul as a character, to kind of, if he loses, he may be a little bit humbled. We might even go the other way, where obviously he just go completely, thing. And if he wins, my God, I think we will be seeing the inevitable, which is going to happen anyway. But I think it will kind of basically dictate that he is most likely going to be next in line for a world or WWE heavyweight kind of title, maybe even title win down the line if he gets this win. But I think Cena will win going in. That's some of this discussion anyway. But I thought the opening segment was done really, really well, and I was pleased with the development from last week. I think this Tuesday's been quite interesting.
Yeah, me too. I think last week was fun. This week was good, and I think, as you said, it doesn't feel like a stopgap feud. It feels like one that's important, and that's impressive when there are no titles on the line. So I think they've done a good job. I mean, they've tried to have Cena acknowledge his heel past, but also not acknowledge it by just going back to the same old stuff, which I felt was a little awkward. But I think, again, this whole heel run not working could be analysed for years, and I'm sure for years to come we'll be kind of referring back to it and hopefully looking at it with a different set of eyes in the future to be able to kind of analyse it a little bit more. But at the moment, we've just got to enjoy what we've got and say, you know what, the people want to cheer Cena, and Cena wants to have a good time going out, and I think we've just got to kind of accept that. And again, what we're getting at the moment, I can't deny, is fun. And if you're ever going to kind of at least play into some of the stuff from his heel stuff, then I think the moment with the fan was really, really nice. We also saw him compare himself to Logan Paul, which I think was a bit odd. He seems to do that a lot, which I just didn't think worked with the Logan Paul character. If there's any negative for me, it's probably that one. I don't think it really was very truthful. But all in all, again, a fun little segment, a great way to start the show.
Discovering.
And who are we discovering? And again, a good way to start quite an exciting show. The fans were on fire straight away, as expected. The first match we saw, though, was supposed to be a tag team title match. When we were doing the preview on the watch along stream, news was out there essentially saying, look, it doesn't look like Piper Niven is going to be available, and that she's instead going to be replaced by her, I guess not Secret Hervice member, because she and Alba are the only members, but they are looking after Chelsea Green. Of course, the graphic here was quickly out of date. Chelsea Green was said to be replacing Piper Niven, and then that didn't even take place anyway, because they went from what is apparently a real injury to staging a kind of kayfabe injury in taking out Charlotte Flair, which I think worked out really well in the end because it made her look like the hero when she made the save on Alexa. But nice fun opening match here with Alexa Bliss and Chelsea Green. I was glad because as much as I liked the Secret Hervice and Chelsea Green, I want it to be the tag team that win those belts. And I also like Charlotte and Alexa, and I don't want them to take that kind of turn in whatever direction their storyline goes in just yet anyway. So for me, I actually wonder if they were going to make the Secret Hervice win and it would have been too soon, or if this the plan all along, they would have lost anyway. Throw it over to you, Andy, on this one. What are your thoughts on the opening match and the kind of melee around it, essentially, to turn it to a one-on-one?
I think the biggest thing I took away from it is just how evergreen popular Alexa Bliss is. She's just the noise that crowds make, no matter where they are in the world. She's so over, and it's incredible that's still going. And obviously, she had that kind of extended break away while she had a child, and then after that, she was kind of, I presume, they were waiting for the right time to bring her back. But yeah, just testament to her popularity that she's still getting that kind of noise. There's a lot of noise at the moment as well about the stuff that's going on in NXT that they're doing with Ethan Page. So I wonder if they're going to try and find a way to spin it, because that's the kind of rumor, is that, you know, it's gone down very well backstage and they're trying to find a way to bring him over to SmackDown as part of that Canadian group, Canadian Scottish group, I guess, as it really is.
Call them Nova Scotia. There we go.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. So it'd be interesting to see if we do move away from that now into more of a sort of faction that includes Ethan Page. So yeah, nice opening match. It was a strange one. I kind of feared for the women's, and we'll talk about the other one later on, but I was a bit like, I don't know how long they're actually going to get on either of these when they started pulling a bit of hijinks.
Yeah, what about you, Lucas? What are your thoughts on the kind of craziness that surrounded this match and how it ended?
Yeah, I can only assume that they were going to lose, and they potentially didn't want Chelsea Green on the losing end in terms of like a tag team match, potentially. Maybe. And Sam Let's Look as a single. I don't know. I can't work this company out. But yeah, obviously on NXT, they have had her working alongside Ethan Page. And obviously at Heatwave, just gone, they worked a very interesting match where they were villains with a Canadian gimmick, but were getting heavily cheered against the two American gold medalists, Tara May Steele and Taven Heights. And I think overall the work that they've done together seems to be going down very, very well. And I think if Piper Niven is injured and maybe out, and can't can't be around for a little bit, it might be the sensible thing to maybe do the jump now. But I do just fear with that obviously does that become more of a vehicle for Ethan Page or for the women? Because at the moment, Secret Hervice and Chelsea Green very much, a strong part of the women's division. And if the plan was for them to win the tag belts at some time, and if Piper Niven can't make it, are you not just better off just doing Chelsea Green and Alba Fire winning the tag belts?
Maybe, especially if they are bringing over Ethan Page, because there's a chance Chelsea, weirdly enough, since it's her group, gets lost in the shuffle once they bring someone like Ethan Page over. I hope that's not the case. I hope Chelsea still is the kind of main player in the group, and kind of Ethan Page is the subservient, kind of slimy bad guy, which I think would work very well in a kind of male-female kind of dynamic as well. So yeah, I hope that's what they do with it. Again, you're watching the instant reaction review for SmackDown, but we'd love to know your thoughts as well. So see some comments coming in. Keep them coming. Aiden is saying a little warm welcome to Lucas. Before we get to some of his comments about wrestling, he wants to know, did you enjoy your pizza? And what was it, Lucas?
I'm a simple man. It was a margarita pizza. Pizza was good. Pizza was good. Free
Good
as well.
to hear. It was what? Free?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know on air how you got into these dodgy deals, mate. I'm a bit scared to ask you, so we'll pause that one there. Aiden also says John Cena winning the IC belt to become Grandslam Champion. That's something we haven't even really discussed. That's incredible that he's never even done that. Who knows? Could we see that happen before he retires in what is 8 appearances left? I think that Ethan and Chelsea segment has been dry and unenjoyable. Aiden not really a fan of it, and says can't wait for the day that Piper and Alba, but I prefer Kaylee Ray to turn on Chelsea. Of course, Aiden a little bit biased there, being Scottish as well. Got a lot of love for the Secret Hervice, as do we on the channel, though. They are great talents. And yeah, it's a shame that Piper's injured. Hopefully it's not a long one, because I do think them being tag champs makes sense. Again, I just think it would have been a bit soon because of the other story on the other side of Alexa and Charlotte. Let's carry on with the rest of SmackDown, though. We saw Sami Zayn being interviewed backstage in a lovely Fred Perry polo, and he spoke a little bit of French for the audience as well. Said he felt how he felt going into WrestleMania when he won the IC title, and yeah, just kind of really started hyping up that main event, which we'll touch on later on. We also saw the announcement of Brandy Rhodes and Cody Rhodes' second daughter, so fantastic news for them. Congratulations. We came back from commercial and we saw Aleister Black cutting a kind of spooky candlelit promo on Damian Priest, who then cut one of his own. I was a little bit confused about this one, boys, because Damian Priest was going, he sounds articulate, he looks articulate, or clever, or something like that, whatever he was saying. Then he changed it to as if Aleister wants to be like Damian, which I don't think Aleister said. Wants to know about Damian's life or something. It just kind of quickly turned. But then again, I think it was a fun promo because it ended with wait, Barrett, I can call back to you, which was quite kind of cheeky from the wrestler rather than the announcer. But I was a little bit confused by this one, even though I'm looking forward to the feud. I'm also confused by the fact that we didn't see him out there in the flesh. Of course, SmackDown is continuing as a live event at the moment. I imagine there's a dark match going on, and that could very well be it. But thoughts on this kind of back and forth promo between the two there. First, run it over to you, Lucas. What did you think about the segment here?
Does Damian Priest ever wrestle anymore? Like,
maybe not.
Just, I don't remember the last time he was actually in a match. I remember like when they did say there were rumors for something big happening with him, but it just doesn't seem to have been happening. Obviously, he moved to SmackDown. Now, this is something which goes into a bigger thing, but people moving brands for certain things and then not delivering on those certain things, it's getting a bit silly. Because the whole thing is, he said he moved to SmackDown because he was done with the Judgment Day on Raw, and he wanted basically to be a future WWE champion. And he's made no effort in any feud or any action he's done in order to be WWE champion again. So I don't understand why move over and then not have anything for the person. And now we're in a feud where you said earlier that obviously Cena and saying he was similar to Logan Paul was daft. So was this. I don't understand, because obviously Aleister Black was doing the whole dark stuff long before Damian Priest even got it to the main roster. Aleister Black's always been that dark character, that dark gothic character. So if anything, Damian Priest should have said that, oh, I looked up to you, I model myself off you, and I've gone this way. But to make it out like you're the kind of original and that he's copied is a bit daft. Because even if you go off the basis that yes, Aleister did leave to go to AEW, during the interim, he was still there before you anyway in the first place.
And I think it doesn't help when Damien's not dressed in his spooky getup. You know what I mean? He's dressed in normal street clothes, and he's like, "Oh, you don't know my story?" And all I can think of, like Puerto Rican, New York. That's what he's talking about. Like, I didn't even take on board the whole kind of spooky side to his character.
Yeah, which I haven't really done enough of with anyway. But I think in terms of this feud, it's interesting because this feud started before SummerSlam. I'm convinced. So it's been going quite a while, and there's not been a match.
Like you say, Damien don't wrestle anymore.
It seems not. And it's seemingly that it's not going to be happening at Clash in Paris.
Yeah.
To get a match added to that. So we have broken the evil streak of 5-match cards, it seems.
I believe it. Yeah.
And I don't know if is it something that's going to roll over to WrestlePalooza? Are they going to stretch that to then? Or is it just a television feud?
Yeah.
I thought the segment was like okay, like it's one of those. There's a few awkward promos that exist in WWE. I'm missing one of them. Like the other one I hate is a split screen promo one because it's always awkward. And this is another one where he's reacting to something that's on a screen, and then we're not really going to get a response or resolution until possibly next week or the week after. But I think it's one of those you have to just file under watch this space.
Yeah,
which is kind of awkward because they're two kind of main guys. Or meant to be main guys that aren't obviously getting the TV time to at least have a match anyway. But potentially we see it next week. I don't know, Andy. When do you think we see this match? Is it ever happening?
Yeah, I wonder if there's been an injury that they're just trying to stall for time, maybe to kind of get them both in the ring. And maybe it's Damian Priest who's had like a knock or something. But I don't get it because obviously they spun this out from the match that would happen between Aleister Black and R-Truth and the kind of interactions that they had there, and then went off in this direction. And yeah, like I think you guys know my thoughts on Damian Priest. I'm not his biggest fan, and I kind of feel like Aleister Black's the one you've got to give the ball to here and just let him win this feud out whenever it happens. But yeah, I guess if you want to make a big deal of it, can he stretch it out 3 weeks longer and do it at WrestlePalooza? Again, that's a long time now because they've been spinning their wheels, for weeks, what it feels like anyway. So I don't know, like maybe we do just see it next week and move on. But I do think you've got to kind of start for both guys' sake to get away from it now because you're going to start getting a lot of the same stuff coming out. And it was a very weird line because if you know anything about Aleister Black from, when he was before WWE and he was in ICW and he was doing like, cult stuff there and kidnapping backstage interviewers, like, he's been doing this for a long time. So very, very weird to have, Damian Priest claim that, but never mind. I don't think he's got much else to hang his hat on at the moment. So, yeah, I think it's time to move on. So maybe make this a main event of SmackDown if you can't stretch out for 3 weeks and get it done next week.
I could see it being something where they have the match and it doesn't result in a finish, and therefore they add a stipulation, and that becomes the WrestlePalooza, and that's how you stretch it out. But other than that, like you guys say, it's hard to see how much they can spread it out on the microphone, essentially, or with these kind of segments that we saw tonight. But next up, let's move into, we'll talk about someone not wrestling. Kiana James barely wrestled as well because she came out to defend Julia's honor. Look, we saw it last week on SmackDown in Dublin. Michin said she wanted the US title opportunity, and Kiana says, you got to go through me first. Michin said, great, you're just offering me more matches, essentially saying I like wrestling, that's cool, to paraphrase, and she gets her opportunity. Kiana James' SmackDown debut, and it didn't really go the way you'd want your debut to go if this was, well, a legit sport at least. It's a story, so she'll probably look back on this no matter what her career becomes as a kind of fun moment either way, because it got people talking, and it is what it is, and sometimes you've got to play the fool before you become the kind of the main event, essentially. And I think it played into a character a little bit, which is something I'm a bit confused by because I don't get how her character mixes with Julia's at all. We've seen odd couples work before, don't get me wrong, but it just seems a little off to me. But that's not saying that those two girls didn't deliver in their parts tonight. I think Kiana playing into her embarrassment and anger over it was pretty well done. Michin looks strong, as she should, because I think she probably will pick up US gold eventually. And Julia is finally being booked, and she gets the opportunity to make herself look strong by beating up on Michin as well. I've got a fear that Julia is going to lose it very quickly. I do think Michin should win it, but not just yet. But that's a bit of an awkward thing to say when Julia's had it for some time. She just simply hasn't been on TV. Let's throw it back to you this time, Andy. What are your thoughts on the 3-second match? Did any of it annoy you, or was you just kind of cool with what it was?
I was got flashbacks of is it Giovanni Vinci when he lost his debut after being repackaged for Asia and he got that.
Now that one was a problem.
This
one, I don't. Yeah,
it doesn't bode well for her. Let's put it that way. I don't know. There's stuff about her presentation that I think kind of annoys me a little bit because the bag is a ridiculous size, but they're not trying to play it off as a comedy thing. So that in itself, I don't get. She looks fantastic in terms of like being like looks like a superstar, absolutely. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan on NXT. She hasn't done anything to kind of dissuade me of that. At least they explained on the way to the ring the whole boss thing and like, you know, how she was a really good business. What was it? Young person business or something or other, where they explain why she's doing what she's doing, but it didn't tangibly tie it to Julia, and Julia should really be a superstar in her own right. We've already been robbed of seeing Stephanie McCare tomorrow or Sunday, sorry. We could have done with something better than we got here and had Julia. And also the stomp thing, like the angle didn't do them any favors because Michin was nowhere near the stairs and kind of had to sell it. And it was a bit like, oh, I just thought it was that ending was a little bit, I get what they were going for, but you need to be a bit more snug in that circumstance to make it believable.
Lucas, thoughts on this? I want to say match, but really,
it was nice to see Julia. I will be very annoyed though if Julia does lose to Michin straight away. I think it would actually follow like several Japanese wrestlers just not getting these good title runs. Like Shinsuke Nakamura did it with the US title. Was it earlier this year, wasn't it? Won the title at Survivor Series last year, defended it once and then just lost it.
Yeah.
And because they didn't see him book him for like 2 months. They need to find a way to get these mid-card belts and feuds onto television. They've got a lot of television. Stop giving people 20-minute promo segments. Stop having the first match start 32 minutes into the broadcast, and put on, the mid-card belts that you're meant to like. That you're meant to, get us to care about. And sort of this. So obviously, yeah, interesting. I was thinking of this Giovanni Vinci thing as well, but I think that this is very different in the sense that they have already kind of given a character reason for it happening, and it just leads potentially to a better match down the line that Kiana James can get the win back off. I think this was not the one to really introduce, especially like an international crowd, like to her. Because not supposed to way they didn't really know who she was. She hasn't done anything on the main roster. Whereas I think at least if they go to America, and especially if they go around, when they're in Florida, for example, there'll be people who obviously have seen Kiana James do what she does. It's a shame that obviously she got injured very early on to debuting on the Raw roster, didn't she, last year? Obviously took a long time out and has come back now. I think the relationship makes sense, and I think hopefully they delve more into it over the coming weeks. But it does make sense because Kiana, one of her best skills was mic skills, and Julia, obviously, just with the language barrier.
Right. Yeah, I get what you mean. I think booking-wise, that makes sense to cover something. I guess what I mean is character-wise, it doesn't make sense. Like they wouldn't be friends, it seems.
Yeah. I think they need to make a thing of it. Like it seems that she's like almost like a sports agent type thing, but she got the unique. But she's also a wrestler, attached to it. So potentially we can delve more into that. I'm fine with the 3-second thing. I think the only thing I'd say is they booked the first 2 matches were booked exactly the same. You had, and they're both in the women's division too, where you had the babyface win and then get 2-on-1 handicap after the match. Fair enough, Charlotte Flair did come out actually, to be fair, in the tag thing, so it's more like 2-on-2. But you still had essentially the villains basically standing over the faces, which back to back. not really too ideal, but I can see potentially why they did it, because obviously what was to come later on the show.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on Charlotte Flair there. Actually, just a quick point on that. I think she got a great reception. I think the babyface turn has really worked. Credit to her, credit to Alexa, and there are a few things that I think are behind that I do want to dive into, but that's probably build up territory for another stream, another day, essentially. If you're new here for the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, we basically, on the night of a PLE, hype you up and get you in the mood for that PLE by talking last minute rumors and kind of breaking down matches and predictions and stuff like that. And we also go off on random topics and kind of debates as well with our friends from the wrestling media. So tonight, of course, we've got Andy Spoors joining us over here on this SmackDown Instant Reaction Review. And of course, member of this channel, Lucas, as well. If you want to see more from us, again, subscribe. You can also find Andy Spoors at Wrestling Royalty. And Andy, you tell them where they can find you, mate.
No, you're doing a really good job there.
Wrestling Royalty, WrestleSphere, going over to SoundSphere a bit more now as well, right?
That's right.
Do we go back to your rock and wrestling days as well? Like, can we still?
That's it, yeah. I mean, I like just to, rock and wrestling is pretty intangibly linked. So yeah, if you enjoy a little bit of everything, a bit of gaming in there as well, a bit of wrestling, a bit of TV, film, and music, you can check that all out on SoundSphere. We kind of amalgamated them back together for now because yeah, we've got a big audience. We don't want people to having to go look too far. Let's put it all in one place for you.
Hey, that's smart, mate. I appreciate that. Look, talking about all being in one place later on, we're going to have a weekend kickoff show for Clash in Paris where we're going to break down all of the card. Of course, as Lucas said earlier on, another match has been added to that. Surprise, surprise, it's more than just the 5 for those in Paris. So that's exciting. We're going to break down those later on in a different stream. But right now, you are watching the instant reaction review to SmackDown. Now, let's move over to what actually happened on SmackDown. Let's move away from these 2 opening matches that featured women and talk about a segment that featured 2 of the most over men in the company, in my opinion, with Randy Orton getting a sing-song for good measure and McIntyre getting a fantastic ovation. Didn't do either of the things I expected, which was to play into it or to turn against it. He kind of just played it in the middle, which is always interesting to see how a heel plays it. But what I thought was quite interesting about this little promo was the seeds being sown, in my opinion, as they have been for quite some time now, on a Randy Orton turning on Cody Rhodes situation, where Drew said, look, Randy, look, he's not your mate. He's no one's mate. And like he took advantage of you and you need to remember that. And when it came to Randy talking, he basically said along the lines of, yeah, I'll keep that in mind, sort of thing. So it's interesting from Randy Orton. Of course, it's not happened tonight, but that I kind of feel sows the seeds for later on. Got a little bit of a back and forth here as well, where we ended up seeing Randy Orton go for the punt. Now, this reminds us, of course, of the storyline that was leading into WrestleMania that sadly got axed because of the injury to Kevin Owens. It feels like they've just kind of copy and pasted that part of that feud over here now. It gives Drew something to do. We don't know how long for. Is this something that lasts a week because Drew maybe faces off against Cody at WrestlePalooza? Is Cody gone for a little bit longer because of his, wife just having given birth? Or is Cody back at Clash in Paris or something like that? We don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But what we do know is that something at the moment is going on with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. But where is it going? I'm going to throw over to you first of all, Lucas. Your reactions to this and where you think it might be going.
I think it's going to be used as a vehicle for Cody to return. I think they're going to do the match maybe next week or week after. Mm-hmm. Cody returns, and that will set up Cody and Drew at WrestlePalooza most likely. I think that I don't see Orton turning. The problem they're going to have with Orton turning is people won't boo him. And at the moment, be fair, probably Cody needs to turn more than Orton. The fans are already, because he's had the belt more than 5 minutes, the fans are already, making their feelings and voices heard. And I think that would be the smart decision to make. I think that Orton's just got the legacy pop. He's never going to get booed. People just are so happy that he's back wrestling. After obviously he took a long hiatus and he went with back injury. And he is, again, like, as much as Cena's having his final year now, you have to imagine it's not going to be too long for Randy Orton. Definitely as a full-time wrestler anyway. So I think that... But in terms of the segment, what we saw, like, it was solid stuff from both. Obviously, a little bit affected by the French crowd. Just think some of the insults were were kind of missed. But I think it was a very tidy promo segment, and it was nice to see some physical altercation between the two. I love how there's little things that Drew does that just put him on the next level, and just and the littlest tiniest thing that he does is when he misses like a the Claymore kick, and his facial expression is so good. Like it's only like a little thing. It's on the screen for like a split second, but he sets up. He goes up for the Claymore kick, and he misses that, and he sells that. It's something which is so lost because, of course, and it makes sense because like it's his big move. It's the big move in his arsenal. The move that he's won championship with, a big Brock Lesnar with WrestleMania, and he's just missed it. And his face has that look of like, oh my god,
what have I done? Yeah.
And he's just so good at this kind of stuff. I think that we're probably going to see the match in a couple of weeks' time. I don't think it wouldn't make sense for Cody to be out longer than that. One would have to assume that Cody is going to be part of WrestlePalooza. It would just make no sense going into that show without the first ESPN pay-per-view in the States and all that kind of stuff, without your current WWE champion as part of the card.
Yeah.
So I think that Cody has to return at some point. If it's not going to be Sunday at Clash, it'll most likely be in America when they're back in the States on SmackDown.
Yeah, you could be right. It certainly could be a vehicle to simply buy time, especially now that Cody's again had a second child. So once again, congratulations to him. We also saw Drew McIntyre not only Randy Orton not only kind of say that I'll take that on board, but also say explicitly, I didn't do that for Cody. Like I didn't drop you last week for Cody. So again, kind of leans into that. I appreciate what you're saying there, Lucas, about the risk of turning Randy heel. I do wonder if a year ago it might have been, even though he was just as beloved this time last year, I think Cody was stronger as a babyface this time last year. So maybe you're right. Maybe it would be too risky, and people would basically be cheering him battering Cody Rhodes, even if the audience tried to, if the commentators try and sell it otherwise. Andy, what are your thoughts on this, mate? Is it simply a stepping stone that kind of goes a week or two, or does it go much longer? And what were your thoughts of the kind of back and forth between the two in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a filler for both guys, but not in a bad way, because they're both very professional and they're both upper echelons of the roster as well. So you're getting two big guys going against each other. We've seen it, a few times, but it doesn't make it, they've found a way to make it relevant. And at the moment, Cody's had his second child. He's over in Australia filming Street Fighter. Like, he's a busy guy. Like, he's, got all this extra stuff that he's got going on. And it's a great way to fill that void that he's leaving behind. Plus, quite frankly, everyone was complaining the last time we were getting too much Cody Rhodes. So this time, giving him almost the Roman treatment of take him away for a little while, and hopefully the crowd will respond when he comes back. I would presume these guys could have a match at WrestlePalooza and Cody comes back during it to make a save for Randy or something. And, that's where you can go if you want Randy to go, I don't need you saving me. Like, I'm your mentor. Like, you need to put some respect on it, and I don't need saving from anyone. You go from there. Like, that seems to be the most natural way of doing it. And it doesn't, WWE, we've said a few times, don't do these kind of cartoonish black and white villains and heroes anymore. It's more of a case of there's got to be a wrinkle there. So Randy kind of being a little bit embarrassed that someone saved him makes sense to kind of push him away from Cody. So maybe that's the way they do it. I just think it's evident as well. Randy's enjoying just being in the ring and interacting with these audiences. And I think there was a big spell where he wasn't doing that. So, if Matt Riddle did nothing else, at least he gave us a fun Randy Orton match. So I do appreciate that. It's fine. Like, the promo stuff, they're two very good guys on the mic. Drew McIntyre, as Lucas says, got loads of little things, like the fact he was coming out looking for Randy Orton in case he was hiding under the ring, or asking Michael Cole. And it's stuff that like that makes him a bit more realistic to audience watching, going, oh, okay, like Kevin Owens, you actually think about these things rather than I'm just going to go down the corridor and just wait to get attacked from behind or something. So like little bits like that, I think puts these guys they can cool their jets a little bit while not being too far removed from a title shot at Cody at any point, so they can pull the trigger on that. So I think it's a really good spot for them to be in, just to kind of burn a few weeks until they decide which way they're going.
Yeah, I agree. It's much like the John Cena Logan Paul thing. Sometimes you can tell when something is, the kind of transitional feud, if you will, but that's nothing on the guys themselves, and that in itself can be a fun one. You're not just waiting around, when's this going to end? Tonight I was going into it thinking, oh, so when's Randy showing up? Because of the way Drew played into it, and I think those notes, as you say, that Lucas kind of hit on there about kind of Drew's kind of delivery and his performance and these kind of little nuanced things about him rightly being concerned and shocked and surprised that he missed the Claymore. These are the little kind of touches that show you kind of just a top tier talent between a top tier talent and a rookie, or a veteran and a rookie. So these are the kind of things where you really notice it, because, as you say rightly, it's the small details. They only last a few seconds, but if you take them away, other wrestlers would go for their finisher and just go straight into the next spot. And you do have to let it breathe, even if that breathing is simply a facial cue that you hope a camera picks up on for 1 second. I think it was very, very well executed and well pointed out there by Lucas as well. Aiden says, Andy and Lucas, what do you think was behind Kathy Kelly's head? Did you notice this? I didn't spot it, but Aiden thought he saw something behind her head on the truck. Did any of you pick this up? No, I can't see anything online about it either. I've tried to look for it, but I can't see anyone talking about it. We just wondered if it was one of those kind of little Easter eggs they keep seeming to plug into backstage segments. Kevin Kenny is in the house, says hi. Hope you're doing well, Kenny. Kevin, I should say. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know what you thought of SmackDown overall. And we are right on the kind of road to Clash in Paris now. Again, later on tonight, we're also going to have a stream where we break down Clash in Paris and predict it. Christopher Leclerc also says Randy Orton is signed with WWE through to 2029, so he will be 54, an incredible age to reach when he's still performing so impressively and still so over as well. So props to Randy Orton and all he continues to do in WWE. As Andy said, he really did get a shot in the arm when it came to him and that tag team with Matt Riddle. So it's something that we've benefited from, essentially. Next up, we saw the WWE Tag Team Championships #1 contenders match. Now, last week on the Dublin stream, myself and Lucas were debating whether or not we were getting that turn between The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. If we did, who would turn? Who would end up being the face? Who would be the heel? We still didn't. We didn't get that, but we kind of got the seeds towards it, maybe because we got The Miz being distracted by the Wyatt Six. Now, the Wyatt Six made their presence in the form of Uncle Howdy or Bo Dallas, whatever you want to call him, showing up in both backstage segments with both opposite teams, basically kind of with some cryptic chat and saying, watch out for the Wyatt Six, essentially. But weirdly enough, costs Melo Don't Miz the match, only to give a match to the Street Profits, which I don't know where we're going with that. I mean, they got their title match at Clash, and that's cool. We're going to have a sixth match. If I'm honest, I would have preferred to see the other match take place, Melo Don't Miz, because I think there's an interesting story brewing there. Of course, talking about stories brewing, we've got the Street Profits with seeds being planted there as well. I think they're playing into the rumors. We saw, again, Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, basically say, you guys aren't blood, and you'll notice that you're not really brothers, and we're not really a family. So there's a lot kind of going on here. We didn't quite get the explosion to any of those kind of twists and turns, but the seeds are certainly planted on both sides. What did you think of the match overall, and what did you think of the result? Leading over to you, Lucas, first of all.
Yes, this is interesting because obviously I would credit them actually on coming up with a interesting way to get the sixth match onto the card, as obviously we've gone, and it's something which obviously going forward, no, obviously this was in Lyon, they were going to be in Paris on Sunday, but it is something which they should be doing more of. We should be seeing more kind of these quote-unquote kind of spontaneous kind of match setups and stuff. But it's interesting with the title, because is this going to be the start of a feud? Or is it going to be like a one and done and then they move on to someone else? It does feel like it, and I guess only from the segment for tonight, is it going to be Bo Dallas's, kind of tactic to try and plant seeds in all the different tag teams' heads, to question whether they can obviously beat the Wyatt Six, as he did obviously both backstage segments. I think although yes, I would maybe have liked to have seen Wyatt's against Miz and Mello. I can see maybe why they didn't, because obviously Miz did spend a lot of time feuding with the Wyatts previously, so potentially they decided to go another direction. It'd be interesting. I think as well, with there also being B-Fab with the Street Profits, that will naturally give Nikki Cross something to do, in this contest. I think it was an interesting way to set up the match. The match was actually pretty good as well. I think the Miz is really working like doubly extra hard, like in this, to obviously make this work. He'll make anything work. That's the thing. He'll make anything work. He's a grifter. I think that the match was solid, and the weakness of the distraction will be interesting, because it was just a case of Wyatt's were there, Miz looked, and then got knocked off the apron. So it'll be interesting seeing how Mello acts to this, and I kind of hope they keep them together and then build up to an actual proper turn.
Yeah.
But I do get a feeling they may try a rush job and just obviously go straight into the singles feud off the back of this. But I would think that it's gone down quite well, the tag team, I felt. And the SmackDown tag division obviously has been quite strong this year. So having another team like these two involved, I think is only good, particularly obviously the Miz's experience of being on the main roster. But yeah, no, I thought everything here was fine. And I think it's just, again, like it's a smart way to get that sixth match onto the card, as it's been desperately needing this kind of stuff. Sometimes we're sitting there on the go-home show just kind of knowing we're only getting those 5. But this time it was a nice way. I don't even think they announced it beforehand. It was for the...
No, they didn't until the winner was announced. That's when they actually said, "Oh, by the way, it's at Clash." So yeah, pleasant surprise. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought it was a fun match, and I'm with you also in kind of not rushing it, because I think it's actually getting over. You mentioned the stacked tag division. I mean, really, they could have done with them on Raw, right? But look, they're on SmackDown. They're doing well. They're getting good receptions. The fans in France seem to love them. I think that's expected, because Miz is kind of in a portion of his career where he's just getting a lot of love and appreciation as well. And I think it is working. As well, there is that kind of history with the Wyatts, which I think is why they can kind of get away with the Miz being distracted the way he was, because he was kind of transfixed on it. But all in all, again, very entertaining. I do have to give a shout out to both Montez Ford and Carmelo Hayes with a beautiful series of frog splashes. Montez all the time, of course, is trying to hit the big one, but I think Carmelo's arguably was even better tonight. So really, really cool bit of action between the two of them. Andy, what are your thoughts, mate, on the match overall, the result, and what it means for the future?
Yeah, my opinion watching it was, I think it's a bit messy, to be honest. There's a bit of confusion over what they're doing here, not in like a horrific way, but the sort of dynamics of it is, who are we supposed to be rooting for here? Because traditionally the Street Profits have been the good guys. I know they had a little bit of a heel turn, but they were too cool to be heels. So they were kind of like, it quickly changed back. There's been a lot of social media support for Carmelo Hayes in terms of like pushing him to get some more stuff. Well, he's getting some more stuff now, and as you say, he's getting good receptions, and so is Miz. And then the Wyatt Six, who I thought till now have got a pretty good reception, but then they're distracting people. The Street Profits taking advantage of a distraction, and then the Wyatt Six are they for good? Are they evil? Are they kind of neutral? Like it's for me, it's just missing a focal point of who are we supposed to be rooting for, because I've always considered wrestling is like you need to give me someone or something to root for to get invested in a match and a feud. Now here, I'm a bit confused as to who do I go for, because I liked him on NXT, so I kind of want Carmelo Hayes to do well out of this. And I think Miz is doing his best to kind of push it up. He originally attached himself as, I'm going to attach myself to someone who is on the up, and it will help me as well. And that's the impression I got from that. Now it's does he legitimately care and he actually wants to do well, or is he just going to be the Miz at the end of the day? Lots of questions, but it doesn't make me want to root for them. So yeah, a little bit confusing. The Bo Dallas stuff I even found a little bit weird. Like we haven't seen him out of his, his Uncle Howdy get up. Dom might be able to tell you a little bit more if when he joins over the weekend. If he does, then I haven't seen him as Bo Dallas for a long time now. So just randomly getting that dropped in was a bit strange, and him
Yeah.
playing mental game gymnastics with people to try and poison it. It feels like, yes, maybe we're going to get the Miz and Carmelo break up, but then we actually get the Street Profits break up. Maybe that's the direction they're going, is a bit of a sort of misdirection, and they've been drip feeding it for a little while. So maybe that's what they're trying to get out of this, but it just feels like you need to give a good guy in this, or a face, for us to get behind.
Yeah, I think even in the past few weeks, it's been similar again with the Street Profits. I can't remember who they were facing a little while back. I remember being on the stream and saying the same thing of like, are we meant to cheer him? Like, are the bad guys again? It was a bit confusing because it just wasn't.
Face as well.
Yeah, but all three teams, I think, have an argument for being heel and babyface. I think there's a reshuffle. There must be a reshuffle going on. I think at the moment it looks like to me that Miz and Mello, because they are the ones that are the most intriguing, might be the best coming out of this as the clear baby faces. If they don't pull the trigger on the turn between either one of them and they commit to it, then that would make kind of sense. And kind of keep the baby faces as Street Profits as baby face and take them out of that, and a different storyline. And then you've got the Wyatts maybe keep as heels doing dastardly stuff, but people want to cheer them as well. So it's a really confusing kind of, I guess, messy situation, as Andy says. It's been a great year for the SmackDown Tag Team division, but there has been a few times where the overlaps have been just a little bit kind of not great storyline wise. In ring, fantastic, and what these guys have been given as far as TV time and making it work, brilliant as well. But direction has been a little bit kind of missing, I think is fair to say, on some of these storylines. But again, this is maybe where we start twisting into a clear direction maybe next week, now that we come out of this, because something's got to happen right with Miz and Melo going forward, and the Wyatts, even though they aren't in this match. They might even interfere at Clash. Again, speaking of Clash, we're going to have our big weekend kickoff stream later on as well, so stay tuned for that on this channel. The Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel is where it's at for previews, reviews, and watch-alongs, especially of these European shows as well. So thank you to everyone that joined us on that. On the SmackDown watch-along, we had a big moment to celebrate, and that was the winning of the US title by Mr. Sami Zayn. We said it earlier on, he was very confident and he was feeling good about things, and so he should, apparently, because he did walk out with US gold at the kind of cost of Solo Sikoa. Now, I've got to be honest, it's not something I wanted to see. I'm not annoyed I saw it, because I like seeing big moments and I like Sami Zayn. But we touched on it a little bit earlier on. For me, I just wanted to win the world title, so I hope this would play into a story that led towards that. It hasn't done, unless he's kind of screwed out of this title or something like that, and he needs revenge and kind of goes for something bigger in the end. But we've seen him around this kind of level for a long time. We don't need to keep seeing it. Solo doesn't need it as much. He's not going to be damaged because he's lost it. I feel like a month or two ago he was more at risk, and I think he's reinvented himself in the MFTs very well. So he doesn't need the US gold himself. But like I say, Sami didn't need it either. Was this simply giving the fans in Lyon a big moment, as myself and Andy alluded to earlier on? A great crowd tonight, great last year for Backlash and SmackDown back in May. And they got rewarded at least tonight with a big moment to cheer for as well. Fun match. It was your typical shenanigans with the Bloodline and Bloodline adjacent storylines that we seem to get, where it's kind of all over the place, but it is what it is. They did it in a kind of smart way, really, to take away the MFTs, considering that they would have had an extra man if they were just fighting on the outside. So it would have been a little bit weird if they kind of messed up there. So them being distracted and fighting to the back, I think, was the best thing to do if you weren't going to bring someone in to kind of even up things or kind of join either side or anything like that. What do you think, Andy? Let's throw it to you first of all on this one, about the title change and about what this means for this kind of mega storyline going forward. I know you said a few streams back that we're possibly going to get back to Bloodline versus Bloodline at War Games. Even if we don't get there, I mean, we're full force into it at the moment. Minus Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, that's the feud we've already got. And now it's resulted in a title change in hands as well. So what are your thoughts in this kind of storyline we're getting at the moment?
Yeah, I think there might be something bigger at play for two reasons. I think one, getting the US title on Sami. Am I right in thinking is that his first US title? And this is why he's set up for the Grand Slam. So I think that might be wise to kind of position him there, because from what they've drip fed through the last kind of couple of months was Sami is going to win a world title. That's what his line has been, and he will do it. So it does feel like this is just moving him into that position where he will go down as a Grand Slam champion, which is, if it happens, is crazy, because if John Cena's not one and Sami Zayn is, Jesus, okay. And that's nothing against Sami Zayn, but wow, okay. And I also think he might be a sort of transitional champion where it's moving it ready for who the next person is, because Sami Zayn can tell a great story against someone. So I do feel like maybe it's just the time of getting everything in place for the next stuff that's to come, and it makes most sense to have it on Sami. I will also say there's a reason why Sami Zayn won tonight.
Go on.
On Monday, he was spotted at St James's Park wearing a Newcastle United shirt.
And a nice shirt at that, I got to say.
Yeah, 96, 97 home shirt.
The only thing I've seen from that game is that picture, because I was
That's the only thing you need to know.
I know, I was doing the live stream
very
before,
quickly.
and there were comments coming in about the score, and I was like, and obviously as an Arsenal fan, I want Liverpool to drop points as much as possible, and hearing that you guys were down to 10 men, I was devastated. And then hearing you come back to 2-2, and then there was 9 minutes added on, I was like, what? And then they won last minute. But look, we won't dive into it too much, because I can see your eyes are
you got that beautiful moment of Pac and Sami Zayn wearing Newcastle United shirts. That's all that needs to be talked about.
That's all that matters.
Wrestling adjacent, it's fine. We'll move on.
3 points. That's the 3 points already for you, mate. Talking about picking up victories and stuff like that, though, Charlotte Leclerc. I was going to say Charles Leclerc, like the Formula One racer. Christopher Leclerc. I've never made that mistake for you, Christopher. You've been commenting on the channel for a long time. It's the first time I've accidentally called you Charles Leclerc. I'm sure you've heard it before. Solo held the US title for 62 days, says Christopher. Not the longest title reign, but I think one that at least did its job to kind of bring him back to the level he needed to be. I guess an argument could be made that if he went to about 90 days, that would have done the job even more so. But look, they've given the title to Sami, and as you rightly pointed out, Andy, him becoming a Triple Crown is a very real possibility if he wins the world title as well. Not a Triple Crown. What is it? Is it a Triple Crown? Is that what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I was confusing my terms there. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Getting that in means that when he wins the title, there's that.
Oh, sorry, Grand Slam.
Slam, yeah.
Triple Crown, I think. Is the Triple Crown the US, the Intercontinental, and the World title?
Wasn't it the World and the IC and the tag title?
Oh, possibly.
Anyway, let's
change.
I mean, it definitely changed now. Let's bring Lucas back into the fold as well. Again, we've just been touching on Sami Zayn's victory. Not one that I think was needed, but still a good moment for the fans in Lyon, and a good moment for us as well. Just simply as a wrestling fan watching the show, it's always nice to get a kind of a victory like that as well. Lucas, what are your thoughts on the MFT's leader losing the gold?
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to give back to Lyon from last year. It's not really needed, but if the Grand Slam discussion is coming into thing again, it makes sense. They were going through a phase where they were trying to update. It seems they're going through this phase last year, but they're trying to update a lot of the old records.
Yeah.
Obviously, hasn't been a Grand Slam champ for a little bit. By the way, Triple Crown was the world tag and the mid-card belt.
Yeah.
So the belt in the day.
I went back to the 90s for a minute. I was like,
yeah. If we were to exclude Shawn Michaels' daft return to wrestling at Crown Jewel 2018, Shawn Michaels would remain the only true Grand Slam champion, as the only person to win every single belt that he was eligible for while in the company. Other people obviously he never won the Universal title, even though he would have been eligible to win it.
Wow, what a stat. I like that. I like it, but I also hate the fact it's true. But
yeah, but obviously they want to obviously update these records, it seems. Now, it's an interesting one because it does feel a bit like Solo potentially was just a traditional champion in this regards. because obviously all we did was feud with the person who he beat the belt, he beat to win the belt, and then lost it straight away to the first person that came barking for it the next week. This makes sense as well because feeding into the bigger story with Sami, where it does seem likely that he is going to be favourite to win the Rumble in Saudi in January, and then potentially win the world title at WrestleMania. But it also fits into the bigger story this year of SmackDown, where obviously he refused to go to SmackDown for a guaranteed World Championship match earlier this year. And so I think if he was to come to SmackDown this time round and not get success kind of off the bat, it would make him look very, very stupid. So I think at least they've kind of covered their asses that way of being like, well, at least he's come over to SmackDown now, he's won a belt. And I think, it might be the stepping stone in order to get him seen in contention for it. But also, congrats for them this week as well for not having to set up the main event during a 25-minute promo segment. I think that was... It's always a nice touch when you just have that's the main event, it's sorted. Yeah. We don't need to do the long setup beforehand. It felt like it was a big main event, to be fair. Obviously, MFTs, Bloodline Light, we're going to call them, I think they did a smart job of getting rid of them kind of halfway through the match and letting the last 10 minutes just be the two wrestlers, but match essentially. And I guess particularly with Solo losing, it's a way that he loses without losing face too much, I guess, because you guys weren't there for me. And it'll be interesting seeing where that goes going forward. I'm guessing there will be a rematch, as always is with the Bloodline peeps. But I thought it was a decent way to end the show, personally.
Yeah, very good. I think overall it was a fun show. I think the ending really kind of helped. Even if it's not maybe what I would have booked, I'm still glad it happened because it was fun. I did say on the watch along, it felt odd pacing wise at the beginning, but I think the second half it really made up for that, which I think is probably the reverse of what could be said about last week, because the second half's pacing last week was, although entertaining, crazy. A very different show to what we saw in Dublin, but still a fun European tour so far. It doesn't stop here though. We've got Clash in Paris this weekend as well, and then Raw hosts Paris hosts Raw, even I should say, on Monday night. We're going to be covering that in depth on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, but you have been watching our instant reaction review to Friday Night SmackDown. We're also going to have a weekend kickoff show. WWE aren't doing a kickoff themselves, so don't worry, we got you covered. We're going to break down the card in detail in just a bit on this channel as well. Before we do, and before we get out of here, I'm going to throw it over to Lucas and Andy to see what they would rate tonight's show overall. So, Andy, let's go with you first of all, mate.
Oh, what are we doing out of 5?
Let's do out of 10.
Out of 10? I think that the crowd gives it a little bit extra, so I'm going to go 7.5 to 8 out of 10.
Okay, nice. I'd go for a solid 7 myself. I think 6 for me is always good show. 7 brings because it weren't the most spectacular show. I don't think it's going to be one that'll be remembered for a long time, other than what happened at the end and the audience. So that's where my kind of points start to come up from there. Maybe 7.5 is a fair shout, actually. Lucas, what are your thoughts, mate? Do you kind of align with me and Andy?
I do, actually. I think it was an interesting break in the format as well. And it'd be interesting seeing if they do this kind of thing again when they have a next kind of weekend of shows somewhere. Because I like the whole idea of, obviously, they set up a match, for Clash, in the location. So obviously you have the tag title match. So the number 10 match, then they earn the title shot on the Sunday. I think that's a good way of, using the fact that you've got fans there, that are paying a lot of money now to be there as well. So it's nice that they get a kind of they're there kind of quote unquote exclusive kind of thing. I think it's a good way. Having the title change at the end, I think made sense. I did think something going forward to Raw. I did have a feeling that AJ might win the belt on Raw. I guess both things could happen because it's wrestling, and there's only so much things you can actually do. But I think it's a good way of giving the fans that moment that's needed. So I think, all in all, it could be, as much as, yes, it's not going to be memorable in the sense of go back and watch this. It could be memorable in the sense of this is the turning point for how they do the kind of go-home shows and try and make them a bit more interesting. Because we've seen some, let's be real, we've seen some very, very poor go-home shows this past year.
Yeah.
Where it's do you not even care about the pay-per-view on Sunday? We're just having random interference in every match and stuff. But I think there's definitely more to come from a lot of this stuff. Like, I think we need to see more from Men and the Miz. We need to see definitely more from the US title picture for the women, and definitely more from the tag title feud. So I think it's one of those where it's not groundbreaking in that there was this big return, this big moment, but I think it was a big moment in terms of the title change, I guess. But I think it's one of those where a few weeks down the line, I think it will be. That makes sense. It's setting up a lot of stuff coming forward. So I'd say 7.5.
No, I get that. I think that's a fair rating, and as you say, it might be one that at least in the kind of coming weeks will be a kind of marker for kind of storylines and stuff like that as well. And talking of more to come, as I say, we're going to have our weekend kickoff show for Clash in Paris, and then on Sunday we're going to hit you with our build-up show, getting you in the mood and hyped up for that. Very rare on this channel do we have the opportunity to do a watch-along for a PLE, so we're going to be doing that as well for Clash in Paris, and then we're going to hit you with an instant reaction review for that show as well, just like we've been doing here for SmackDown from Lyon. But that pretty much does bring us to the end of the show. Again, really enjoyed having you guys with us tonight. And I hope you enjoyed the watch-along experience. Subscribe if you haven't already. And again, I do encourage you to check out the weekend kickoff show. Again, WWE aren't doing one, so we're going to do one for you instead. But I've been Scott. He's been Andy. He's been Lucas. This has been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. And we'll see you right back here very soon.